And hello, I'm back in the studio, as you can tell. I just wanted to do another quick check-in to report on the second week of Darmstadt, and then we'll be back to our usual programming, erratic as that sometimes is. So yeah, the second week is kind of a bit of a blur in my mind, I have to say. The second half of the second week, all I can remember is hot! Oh my god, so hot! It was like 36 degrees for 3 days, 37 degrees for one day, and I was just dying. Frankly, I don't handle the heat well. Yes, I'm Australian. It's part of the reason why I left. And I was very glad actually that I took notes every single day on my phone about what I'd done and where I'd been and who I'd met, because frankly I don't remember a lot of it just off the top of my head, but looking back on the notes I can actually remember what I did. So yeah, it was another great week filled with fantastic gigs and talks and meeting people and ice cream, very, very good ice cream. Yeah, and I had expected the second week to be kind of calm and empty-ish, and that I'd be able to just see a lot of gigs and go to a lot of open space events and hang out a bit, and somehow it ended up still absolutely jam-packed, even though my workshop was over and I had no real commitments. One of the things I forgot to mention in the last episode was that they announced an impromptu 2-day workshop by Donatien Michel Donsac, I hope I pronounced that right, a singer, and it was for composers for writing for voice, and about getting composers to use their voices and to understand sort of how things like Sprechstimme work, how vowels affect pitches, and the kind of things that you need to notate for singers, and how to convey the idea of a sound that you've made to a singer, that kind of thing. It was really, really great actually, and it was just 2 sessions of an hour each, and Donatien was fantastic. She was really fascinating and interesting, got us all involved with like messing about with all sorts of stuff, a bit of Georges Apiguy. It was so great, and I've got so much to follow up on with that. That was really, really great, and I'm really glad I took the time to do that. I had all my lessons on one day. So I had a group lesson with David Helbig in the morning, and another group lesson with Rafael Chendo, again, I hope I pronounced that right, in the afternoon. And I took along the vocal piece that I had the breakthrough on sort of the day before, and I was glad I did actually. I think it was much more helpful to get some feedback on a work in progress than something that I felt was done. I think ever since the progression assessment, I've kind of felt like all that stuff's been boxed off and shifted away, and it felt, I kind of didn't want to resuscitate it in this context, so I was really glad to have something new that I could talk about. I had been going to talk about the Britten variations with Simon Steen Anderson, but given that that was going to be all about video, the questions I had for that, there seemed to be not much point in dragging it out, given that he couldn't be there. Anyway, so the lessons were both great and really interesting. The group lesson format was very good because you got to hear feedback on what other people were doing and sort of see how that might fit in with questions you actually hadn't thought to ask. So that was really, really good, and sort of meeting the other people in the group lessons was helpful too. So David had some really helpful ideas, particularly about how to sort of present this vocal piece. Sort of, if I'm going to memorize it, what am I doing when I'm performing if I'm not doing the actions? And I'm beginning to think that there should only be intermittent actions, maybe only intermittent silent actions, and that the spacing in the piece comes from the actions rather than every sound needing a movement. So I'm doing a lot of thinking about that. I definitely want to memorize it. I don't think it should be read, especially if there's going to be movement involved. It feels quite awkward to me, or at the very least it shouldn't be relied on. So this is a really sort of important thing for me to consider how I'm going to do this. With Raphael, I was mostly talking about how to notate it. Yeah, he notates his work very, very precisely, and he had some really interesting things to say about how to notate it, the importance of notating it. It was very big on, and I agree with him in this piece. I think it's something that needs to be fully notated, memorized, and then in performance I may stretch and compress things according to the venue and the audience, because I perform in sort of a real variety of venues. There can be all sorts of factors, you know, it's something like a truck goes by and perhaps you felt that a small sound was lost, so you repeat it. And I'm fully open to that happening, but I want it to be fully notated first and to have that structure laid down. I'm also thinking about how to expand it. At the moment it's about 3 minutes long, and I feel I can draw more out of it really and sort of explore that a bit. I'd like it to be ideally 5 to 7 minutes long, and I'm now thinking this could well be my piece for Festival of New in September at Snape Maltings, and possibly even for the Bastard Assignments recording. I'm feeling it's working well just as a sonic piece, even if it does have movements in it, that they're movements that are informed by silences. I think that'll be just fine. I don't think it's going to need... I think they can be not really an add-on, but yeah, something that is kind of a bonus if you see it live or if you see it on video, but that the sound of the piece can stand alone. On Monday, I think I visited the Block Boys exhibition in the Landesmuseum, which was fantastic. It was really great. They've got like 7 rooms of Joseph Beuys' work there, and there was nobody there except for one lady who was kind of just guarding it, walking backwards and forwards and following me around. But it was great. It was really, really good, and there's so much in there that definitely would stand another visit, so I'm planning on going back again next time. It looked like a nice little museum, but I just didn't have time to really see anything other than the top floor. Yeah, so that was really, really good. Thank you, Edward Henderson, for that. Well, not quite a recommendation, it was more of an order, but yeah, top work there. What else happened? I went to lectures by Jennifer Walsh, who is always spectacular, and Johannes Kreidler, which was also quite interesting. I think the highlights in terms of performances for me were the composer-performer workshop performance, and then the final day's sort of accumulation of Tereka Tui performing his work, followed by Stockhausen's Stimmung in the church, which was just a beautiful combination. It was so good. Yeah, really, really spectacular, that pairing. There was also an excellent session from the Notation Conference. I didn't get to a couple of those. There were 4 sessions in total, and I only got to sort of half of the second one and then the whole of the final one, which was on open form. But it was fantastic. There's some really interesting insights and things to think about. Good stuff in there about how performers approach open scores, which was really, really interesting for me, and sort of things like how to approach an open score when something has changed since the circumstances of its writing. There was a Stockhausen piece in particular, whose name completely escapes me, that uses radios, and now of course radio is pretty much entirely gone digital, and you don't just have radio waves sort of bumbling about that you can use. And so how do you then interpret that? How do you sort of recreate that piece for the modern world, really? So that was a really, really great session led by Kathy Milliken. Oh, and we did an open space session. Edward Henderson and I asked Vanessa Teng from our workshop if she'd be involved in an improvisation with us. We discovered that although her main instrument is the piano, and I'm sure she's very good, I haven't actually heard her, but her true instrument is the plastic bottle. She is so good! So we really wanted to do something with her, and yeah, we made that happen on the last day. So I think that's probably it. I want to keep this short because there have been quite a few of them in recent weeks. Yeah, but I have to say the whole experience was just amazing. This has just been sort of little bits that have sort of really stuck out for me, but just meeting so many great people, and now my Facebook is full of exciting new people to follow and people to catch up with when I next go to Australia, and it was just great. And I would say that if you're contemplating Darmstadt, just do it, definitely. Yeah, so it was a fantastic 2 weeks, really brilliant, and I'm so glad I did it, and I can't wait for the next one. So that's it for this episode. Like I say, usual programming will recommence after this, so I will see you again in a couple of weeks. If you've got any comments or questions, please leave them below, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.